صباح الخير للجميع وأهلا وسهلا فيكم
Good morning to all of you and welcome at this webinar on e-learning course and career guidance. This is George Fadel. I am with you with my colleague Asma. We are from the IDC ILO to support this course. I will make a presentation today on public employment services with focus on the SSTC concept and based on an exchange of experience among South countries. I hope this presentation will be useful to you and we will exchange ideas and experiences in order to reach a clear outcome on public employment services. I will also have a presentation or an introduction on public employment services, the challenges with which we are faced, and cooperation, triangular cooperation, in order to serve countries and help them improve public employment. In this presentation, I shall tackle several points. First, the career guidance and its relation to public employment services, or PES. I will not list all of the items that I will be delving into. First, we will discuss the main stakeholders of PES, South Cooperation and Triangular Cooperation, or SSTC, the purpose and importance of labor market information for public employment services, matching jobs and offers, and why the need for a coordinated approach, and South-South and triangular cooperation in order to activate and promote employment policies. Then we will address challenges, solutions, and recommendations. Should anyone like to make an intervention, they can, of course, do so. But first, we ask you to make a sign or a signal, give us a signal, so that we can give you the floor. This course is about career guidance, but we will mainly focus here on public employment services. Later on with our colleagues, we will address other aspects of career guidance with my colleagues, as I said. First, what is career guidance? It is a type of counseling provided by professionals or practitioners and practitioners with academic qualifications to identify and explore the most suitable occupations to start the career in the right direction. And as you know, when the start is okay, then we will continue on the right path. And however, we might waste years of our academic or professional life correctly. So a good start would allow us to reach good outcomes. Career guidance can help the individual learn about the different job options available on the market and help them understand the labor market, because the concept of labor market is very wide, with a wide range of options and alternatives. So it is an instrument or a tool that allows us to plan and make decisions about work and learning. Still in the introduction, career guidance can be defined as a concept that includes a number of disciplines like education, sociology, psychology, labor economics. So we need to guide individuals across all these disciplines and subjects for them when they are transitioning from school to university or from university to the labor market, so that they can find themselves in the proper discipline and area. So we can guide them through different stages until they are able to achieve their expected outcomes or goals. In a large number of countries, public employment services play a lead role in these strategies. Across all stages of employment services, there should be different units and strategies for employment, be it for job seekers, whether through organizing guiding training in high schools, university, and enterprises, in order to guide people on based on the offer and the demand. Therefore, career guidance plays a pivotal role for people to be able to achieve their goals. Public employment services are part of employment services. Without public employment services, we won't have career guidance as a state, and we won't be able to achieve our goals. Who are the main stakeholders involved in public employment services, or PES? Simply put, public employment service is about matching employers, employees, employers being their workers, job seekers, or those planning to have a job later on. These services are supposed to be provided first and foremost by governments through the Ministry of Labor, with, of course, relevant agencies and institutions, in addition to non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and private employment agencies, provided their activities are harmonized and unified in order to avoid any duplication or overlap. The purpose of this is to provide a public service to the citizens. Therefore, we need interlinkage among these different stakeholders or actors. The employment agency or the public employment services act as a link between employers, companies, job seekers, be them regular workers, professional workers, administrative employees, or academics. These agencies exist to help unemployed people get jobs and return to work instead of being unemployed. You know that being unemployed is really tough in the society, given the psychological, financial, and social effects and impacts of unemployment for a person, especially when they are married with a family, or either if they are single and willing to marry, to get married. So unemployment is very risky and can have an adverse impact on the society. Therefore, the main objective of such employment agencies or services is to plan and implement a policy aimed at reducing unemployment rates. And we will see how this is done and how this is linked to public employment services. My main objective would be to provide a job for job seekers, and public employment services plan labor market policies in this respect. and they will in implementing those policies. So they plan, they implement until they reach their goals. They will publish these results and outcomes so that government decision makers can design future programs in order to unemployment rate. So among the main responsibilities of public employment services, we can mention providing accurate information about the labor market, assisting in searching for a job, and providing employment services, the administration of unemployment insurance benefits, managing a variety of labor market programs, monitoring the activities of private employment agencies. Let me further elaborate on these items. As you may know, in many countries, but I don't know if the GCC countries such benefits do exist, but in other countries, there are unemployment insurance benefits whereby the unemployed can receive monthly benefits from the state to support him until he can find a job, and so that he can ensure his livelihood during the unemployment period. We also have a full range of labor market programs. So all these missions or tasks are among the main responsibilities of public employment services. A well-functioning and strengthened public employment agency can support the achievement of decent work for also migrant workers. Let me give you a concrete example. Syrian refugees have fled to Syria, to Jordan, to Iraq, to Lebanon. There were millions, and they integrated the society. The governments and the states had to integrate these refugees and attempt to provide them with jobs in a way that they don't compete with the nationals. Therefore, it was necessary to regulate the jobs of these refugees in a way that benefits the state without competing with nationals until they can go back home. And this requires a partnership among public and private sectors, PPP, including the NGOs. Let me give you an example about Lebanon. There were hundreds of NGOs that came to birth after the flow of Syrian refugees to Lebanon to train them, to find them jobs depending on their skills and competencies. And many training courses are being organized and addressed to them. NGOs also have created specific employment platforms for those refugees. Hence, the importance of cooperation among the different relevant sectors and actors in every country so as to reach the desired outcomes. It is also considered a useful means to promote fair access to the labor market, because as you may know, Many do not have enough experience and do not know where to seek the job, where to find it. They are considered as marginalized or disadvantaged. In Arab countries, WASTA plays an important role in finding job opportunity, because some people do not have important public relations, and they do not have access to the source, to free and open source of information. As you may know, public employment services are supposed to be free of charge and financed by the state. The state should not only provide unemployment insurance benefits to unemployed people, but also provide this service free of charge. And this service should be efficient and have all the main features and characteristics so as to allow employment service staff to fully play their role and find job vacancies in the labor market and match the job seekers with such job opportunities or vacancies.
So those who are graduates and couldn't find a decent job, they can be like working in factories, and they had been laid off for one reason or another. So the employment, so the NGOs or the PS, it's such a tool to reach the labor market and find a perfect job, another perfect job. So when I have all this organized between different sectors, private sectors and NGOs and public sectors in an effective way, as I have said earlier, we need that each of them needs to understand his role and to play an effective role and implement the effective measures as well. So the main objective here is to distribute the different roles, the private agencies, public agencies, the vacants, the skilled, qualified workers, all this matching between all these inputs, we can reach an outcome for each of this role, for each or for the stakeholders. Again, I would like to give you some introduction and overview of the services in different countries led by the PS, and after that we will go through some special examples as well. We haven't identified the public services and their tasks. We have done that now. We will go through another slide now and we'll get back to it in details. Today, we have to focus on the South-South and Triangle cooperation. This cooperation is a tool to share the capacity. This is called the South countries of a continent and the countries of a north of a continent. So the developed countries that they have all the tools, the financial capabilities, and how they can exchange them. They exchange the knowledge and skills and the know-how and the good practices. And this exchange of capabilities between the North and the South is much better to be interrelated between the continents and one another. This tool is used by governments, international organizations, academics, social partners, civil society, and the private sector. And they all collaborate and exchange and define studies areas in order to reach this exchange of knowledge, exchange of skills, exchange of know-how, and even good practices from a country that have been through this experience to another country that is suffering from a certain problem. So the country that had this know-how and reached positive results can transmit these good practices to the country that is less fortunate or going through the hard time. So the main objective is to reach a decent work in the countries that are less fortunate. And successful initiatives that we can see, they are usually in a variety of sectors. Let's talk about these sectors such as the agricultural development, human rights, urbanization. All these sectors are an overview, an introduction, a beginning that they start to study in different countries. Also the climate change, the protection, the social protection, and the job creation. So all these countries, we are talking about climate change and the green work that are related to such a cause, and it is also included within the development plan. We also have now the climate change conference in Egypt, the COP27. It has been a conference there covering the climate, talking about the climate change and its impact on different countries, as well as the job creation. So the PES should be up to date with this need and how to create jobs that fits and match this climate change environments, also the green jobs or the green projects. So if we talk about the green projects or a decent green project, what it will be, the work that will maintain, will protect the health, for the workers, the wages, the monthly salary, the social protection. So the decent job requirements should be fulfilled as well. Therefore, this collaboration between the South countries and the triangular cooperation, we call it SSTC. This SSTC could be countries between Africa and Asia and Southern Europe. It basically is a collective effort to enforce the development of a country. I have another webinar next week with you, and it will be related about the future of the PS and how we can update those PS according to the requirements of the climate change and the needs of the climate change, and having a sustainable green jobs, and how the current workplaces and the companies should update their methodologies to fulfill the new era, the new climate change challenges. So the SSTC cooperation are complementary, and it needs to fulfill the social protection and the decent work. Another phase here, if I would like to address what's the purpose and the importance of the labor market information and its need for the public employment service, PS. I can't have a reliable, appropriate, and adequate information on the labor market if it's not available. So who are the different stakeholders, the influential in the labor market? Universities, employers, NGOs or society or agencies, there are many stakeholders that need to get together, to work together, to lay down PES, effective PES. First of all, availability of reliable and appropriate information is an essential component of policy making. In educational planning, career guidance, and companies together. This headline here, if the government needs to formulate a policy to address the job creation, a policy for guided and targeting the public service, or while the education planning is related to the curriculum, how to improve the curriculum, to update it and to make it capable to address the future challenges. What's the new skills needed? Other like digitalization, as I have said earlier, the green jobs and how it is related with the climate change, and how the career guidance comes into place now to understand the skills needed for the future challenges. So this educational planning and policy making needs to be up to date. I cannot use an old policy, 10 years old policy to address the climate change challenge. So also the company strategies. The companies need information related to the availability of skilled workers. Each company has offers a service, a production service, or marketing, or works in the marketing field. But it depends on the service or the activity or the sector it works on. I need to understand, I need to have available appropriate, adequate information to understand the labor market. This system, reliable information system on the labor market, is essential and paramount to understand the skills needed, the supply and the demand, the skills needed and the skills available. For those who are graduates or the active workers who already attain skills through their work, and it's in the labor market. Also, the skills needed by the employers. Sometimes they need new skills for a new activity, or to integrate many investments is based on new skills and new technologies. So this information related to the skills needed is paramount. Also, having dedicated training, training courses and new formation for new labor is also essential and will be based on this information systems. So the information systems makes us have a better understanding of the labor market and the labor needs. So this tendency and the tendencies in the market. All this helps us to anticipate the skills needed. Back to the policy making and all the stakeholders, they need to have this availability of information to empower them. Moreover, the trade unions would also need this kind of information to understand the wages and in the labor market, not the government but the private. the public sector wages is based on what the government specifies or rules, while in the private sectors, it's a different story. But this is not always the case on the ground. But at the end of the day, there's a minimum wage that needs to be respected. Having such an information in place can be an incentive also for the employers to find qualified workers. Reliable, appropriate, and adequate information to understand also the nature of how the labor force are going. Some companies need to change their services, needs to maximize a service, or even innovate their services. They will be needing all this information. And among the cooperation between the different stakeholders in the public sectors, like ministers, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Education, Ministry, the vocational training, all these stakeholders need to have this kind of reliable, appropriate information in order to coin and to formulate effective policies, to guide the companies and the enterprises to the right need, what they use that they need. I also would like to tackle another point, that this information is there, available in the labor market, is to understand and analyze the labor. For instance, I've been graduated for 4 years and have been unemployed for 2 years, and now I'm trying, for instance, I'm trying to find a job in NGO in private sector, and each time I apply for a job, I have a negative reply. From here, I can, by studying these cases and their age, their qualification, their education level, all this information makes it available to understand the case and to understand the cause and the reason for his unemployment, and to reduce this gap of unemployment, and to help him or her to reduce this gap and find a job that through maybe updating his skills or helping him to find a new job. So at this point, we can say deliberately that all this information in the PES, it helps them to and empowers them to plan a better activity. I know that through the public sectors, there has been many studies related to the demand, also the analyzing the candidates. Maybe sometimes the contract has some working conditions, and it may contain one job or multiple jobs with different conditions. It can have a job offer that may contain 5 different jobs within it. So to analyze the job offer in these PES and analyze them and those job seekers, it helps to have a better service for those who are in need for a new job. I won't really name anyone who I haven't studied his case to understand if he's qualified or not, if he has the right skills, if he can compete in the in this job offer. So we need to understand if each worker has the right skills. Yeah, you know perfectly that in each job there are many candidates, and the employer just selects one of those candidates according to the qualification and skills. On the third point, also, I would like to talk about how important the information for the labor market and the PES, the sufficiency of information regarding the companies, that the hiring companies and their needs and trends is very important. Some countries, they have industrial areas. They may rely on tourism, they may rely on agriculture or commercial services in the same country. And they usually are scattered in the country. So the PS here has a major role to study the nature of these companies present in this geographical area through a system if there
لحتى ابني عليها سياساتي. فاذا من دور مهام مكاتب التوظيف العامه
one of the responsibilities of public employment services is to study the sectors available in the geographical area and to identify the disciplines or specializations of these establishments, so that if a job description, a profile or policy is to be designed, this can happen in a specific sector or geographical area for tourism, for the industrial or agricultural sectors, so that every sector is examined, and so that a specific sectoral policy or a nationwide policy can be designed covering all geographical areas. If I'm a job seeker, with statistical publications issued by official statistical offices and administrations, and of course the results of these studies should not be more than date back to more than 6 months or a year, because we cannot rely on studies dating back to 6 years. I can use such data to understand the work factors and to get ready as a job seeker for this job opening. And I would need, for instance, to rely on the occupational information system, the OIS, that provides accurate professional information related to job descriptions, working conditions, career progression. So the more I have documented data and information about the labor market, the more I know what direction I will take, whether I intend to enroll at university in a specific discipline or enter the labor market. So based on such studies, I can know how I can upgrade my skills in order to be able to find a new appropriate job. This shows the importance of labor market information, their necessity in all countries. And this allows us to determine the main sources of information in the labor market. First, workers and employers organizations. Some employers or employees trade unions can conduct specific studies and surveys about their activities, how to promote them, and so on. We also have the chambers of commerce, industry, and agriculture that can be found in every country and who conduct studies depending on their different areas of activities. To this, can add sectoral committees who focus on a specific sector, be it agriculture, industry, tourism, etc., etc. Government ministries, such as the Ministry of Labor or ministries of statistics, if they exist, or statistical offices, private statistical offices that are not do not fall under the ministry, but maybe they are attached to the Presidency of Council of Ministers. So approaches can differ depending on the countries, but the results are the same, which is obtaining reliable labor market information and the role they play in supporting public employment services. Among the main sources of information, we can also mention local governments. LIO play an important role in many countries in conducting sectoral studies with reliable outcomes, documented outcomes that require a lot of effort, of time, of preparation. And the ultimate goal of this is to support the country or the state in designing employment policies so as to promote the role of public employment services and other relevant services. We also have the NGOs. NGOs play a lead role in this respect, and some of them are funded to conduct such studies. We also have the public and private recruitment and employment agencies. As I already said, public employment services are tasked with conducting employment studies, and we also have educational institutions at all levels of education, be it academic or vocational. We can also have alumni tracking approaches or surveys. And last but not least, we have the general population census, such as household surveys, population surveys, to determine unemployment rates in a country and to know in what sectors unemployment is mainly concentrated. So all these headlines or all these entities are reliable sources of information on the labor market. When such information are available, be it with the public employment services, the NGOs, or any agencies or entities concerned with the career guidance, then it is possible to guide job seekers and fresh graduates towards determining their professional orientation and offering them the best job options and vacancies. This can also help them transition into different careers or jobs. So as I already mentioned, career guidance helps orient young people while they are planning their professional career, their initial path towards determining their professional orientation, starting with university. As you may know, in some private universities, academic tuition can exceed $10,000 or $15,000 a year. Even in public universities, government that are funded by governments are paying a lot to provide such services to citizens. So if in case there is no clear professional orientation from the beginning, university students can embark on a specific discipline or a specialization and shift to another one after several years, or even become unemployed when they graduate. And here, no need to mention the different challenges that an unemployed person can face. So good guidance built on or supported with reliable data and information can have good outcomes. Career guidance can also support fresh graduates when they need to transition into the labor market, and can also help workers transition to other careers and other occupations while upskilling their competencies. Now, let me move to matching jobs and offers. When talking about public employment services, as a matter of fact, we need to have offer and demand. The absence of labor market information and analysis make the analysis of the past arduous and quite impossible. So it's impossible to plan for the future because things are usually interlinked. The past, the present, and the future are interlinked. So this is a continuous chain providing labor market information and thus a good future for people. For example, if we wanted to define the number and types of vacancies in the labor market, wage statistics, employment expectations on the short, medium, and long term, if we are to conduct a study about a factory or an industry, we can ask them about their employment expectations for the next year or two common years. They tell us, for example, I would like to employ 100 persons next year and then add them to 200 on the year after, and so on. So if such planning is not based on reliable data and without political and security stability in the country, and such outcomes cannot be achieved. We also have information related to the supply side in the labor market.
المصدر أو الخزان البشري الذي سينتقل من التعليم إلى العمل بنسميه اللي هن الداخلين
So here we talk about the new entrants.
يتخرج فيه سنويا مليون أو
For
مليونين
example, in a specific country, there might be 1 million or 2 million graduates yearly.
فرص عمل
Without the adequate
يعني بتكون عم تخلق
infrastructure
اللي ببلدك
to
بتكون
find
زيادة
jobs for
معدل
those graduates, then we will be creating a problem in the country and increasing the number of unemployed. We also have to take into account the returnees to the labor market. Some are compelled to stop working, such as some women who go on maternal leave or stop working for a couple of years just to take care of their household, of their family, and later on they have to go back to work.
رجعتهم لسوق العمل إلى يعني أساليب لا تحقيقها بدي أعرف أنا عدد الخريجين
We also need to know about the number of new graduates
تخرجوا بأي اختصاص
and
تخرجوا سنويا أنواع برامج
the
التدريب
discipline from which they graduated, the types of training programs available.
التدريب هي عم يصير على التدريب الرقمي أو التدريب
Recently, there are increasing e-training courses,
بمجال الكمبيوتر يعني
IT courses, computer courses,
بالعلوم الحديثة
and
اوكي
modern science skills training, artificial intelligence training.
بده يكون عندي معلومات عن المؤسسات التعليمية
We also need information about the number of educational and professional institutions,
الاختصاصات الأكاديمية اللي صار فيها فائض يجب إعادة النظر بعدد الخريجين
because
للخروج
oftentimes we have to reconsider
اختصاصات جديدة
the academic guidance process in order to orient students to other specializations to avoid increasing unemployment rates.
بعد ما يعني تطرقت لكل هيدي المعلومات
Now that I have touched on
عن سوق العمل
all these subjects and I have identified the labor market and labor market information,
لما الحاجة هلا إذا بدكم ممكن وقف الدقيقة أو دقيقتين إذا
I
حدا
can stop for a couple of minutes
بأي
in case any of
بأي
you
رأي بأي
wishes to make an intervention
بأي توضيح بأي سؤال
or request a clarification or raise a question before we move to the second part of my presentation. You are most welcome in this case.
Yes.
في شيء أنا مش باين عندي على الشاشة واضح في شيء حدا عنده
I can't see on the screen, says George, whether anyone has a question. No, you can go on, George.
هلا بعد ما تطرقنا لكل هيدي المعلومات الضرورية والأساسية
Now that we have addressed all this basic information about public employment services, in this second part of my presentation,
من هيدا يعني الشرح هو عن ضرورة
I will talk about
البلدان مثل ما قلنا التعاون الثلاثي الأطراف بين بلدان الجنوب
triangle cooperation, South-South and triangular cooperation, SSTC, and the coordinated approach needed
يعني تطوير الأساليب والمفاهيم
to develop methods and concepts within the framework of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Cooperation among countries requires
لموظفي وكالات التوظيف العامة اوكي يعني حتى تفهم شمولية العمالة
the establishment of good policies to serve public employment services, because in some developing countries,
فهم محدود اوكي
there might be limited understanding about inclusive employment, and they might be in need of new knowledge and experience. And this can be done through cooperation among countries, experience sharing, and with the support of international organizations, chief of which is the ILO, through its different departments and sections, including the IDC ILO, the training center in Turin. New information and biotechnologies have also been reshaping the traditional work systems as they are linked to environmental development, to medical advancement, IT development. These technologies have created millions of new job opportunities. So we need to reshape, as I said, the traditional work systems in our countries. In a country that hasn't worked on green skills or sustainable development or skills or green industry skills, we need to reshape our system and our mindset. And we need a reskilling of public employment services staff so that they have enough knowledge and this happens through experience sharing and knowledge sharing among countries.
After I mentioned the necessity of cooperation between countries, we have to look to the challenges that many countries are facing. What are the challenges that these countries are facing? The most vulnerable groups include young people, particularly those not in education, those who have reached 14 or 15 years old, and they didn't even reach the secondary grade, and they are not working, they have no training, they have no education. And we have also people with disabilities. This is a problem which many countries are facing. The informal workers, what I mean by informal workers, those who are working in the informal sectors, which have thousands of workers who are used in conditions which are not decent. Also, the long-term unemployed. These challenges are very difficult to be dealt with through new ways if we don't benefit from the experience and the competence of other countries who have worked and are able to help us in giving us the experience for the public employment services and to help individuals in new and modern ways to face their problems. So moving this experience is helping. So solutions and recommendations in order to improve active labor market policies, we have to improve awareness of shortcomings in the design and implementation of active labor market policies. If I have to explain what are the active labor market policies, I have to say very quickly that these are governmental instruments used to improve the level of employment, to lower the unemployment, and it has 5 elements. The first thing is the public employment services. These have to be innovated and modernized, both on the human level, on the program level, the IT technology they are using, the internet connection to be up to date in order to improve their work. The second thing that has to be done to improve active labor policies are the programs which are implemented by the governments to train unemployed people, to include them in the labor market, or to train those who have never worked. So the first training for those who have just graduated. So we have this kind by the government to see what are the competencies, what are the skills. If I have 100 new graduates, then I will train them during their job in order to allow them to gain skills, and they will be graduates with skills. And after they have worked, for example, for 6 months or 1 year, they will be ready to move to the labor market. The third thing to improve active labor market policies are they give some help or some aid to employers. I mean by that, to give employers some incentives to employ people from certain categories. For example, you give them reductions on taxes, on social security taxes, or maybe contribute to for a percentage of the wage of the worker, 20% or something like that, in order to push employers to use new workers. For example, if I have a benefit, this will be give me money to invest. Another thing are the public work programs, and this is something that we have seen before the pandemic. The governments in some countries have given billions of local currencies in order to activate all industrial sectors. They have given aids to factories, to companies during the lockdown or during the crisis and the catastrophes, in order to prevent the businesses from firing workers. So these are programs to support workers, because you know, if employers are strong, then they can fire those workers in periods of crisis. And another thing are the funds, the support, the governmental support funds, and these are there to incentive private workers. For example, if you do have a project, and you can ask for a loan from some of these funds. And I know that you have many funds in the GCC countries where you can take thousands of riyals or dinars or any currency to begin your project, and you can refund it on several years with no interest at all, or with a very low interest. It's some kind of help in order to create new job opportunities. All these elements help to support the labor market by the governments to the benefit of some categories. All these activities, the active labor market policies, are part of the government policies or the policies put down by the government in order to help some categories. I have asked many experts in different countries, and as an expert, I can benefit with my expertise also other countries. Maybe I have an experience in a certain country, and you do have experience in another country, and both expertise can be helpful for one country. So it's important to secure more practical support by government for disadvantaged groups, and I have mentioned several of these categories who don't have an employment opportunity. They can't reach the labor market. We have mentioned the disabled. We have mentioned those who don't have relationships or those who didn't complete their education or don't have any education. And in many countries, we have that. You have a young boy at 14 or 15-year-old who leaves the education and isn't able to plan for his future, and even his parents are not able to help him. So all these groups, we call them disadvantaged or marginalized groups. So the policy of the government must be to search for sustainable solutions in order to help entrepreneurship and development. And if the government doesn't have enough expertise for that, maybe you have the funds, but you don't have the expertise, or you have the expertise, but you don't have the funding in order to plan projects to help citizens, then you will have to take into consideration all elements that you have in a country in order to realize a sustainable development. I know several projects where you see that helping a country with a project can create thousands of job opportunities. Maybe you won't have these new job opportunities in a month or in two, but planning and implementing a project or implementing new ideas or having a plan for 5 or 10 years forward, and the government planning, then this will create a sustainable economy. And in order to have an idea on how we can deal with that, we have more solutions and recommendations. For example, organize a workshop between countries. You will ask me how. For example, the ITC-ILO usually organizes workshops and webinars around the experience in several countries. So you have people working in different countries or people who work in countries where they have expertise. So you can have this kind of South-South cooperation, and you may have many countries who have very good expertise, but they need funding, or maybe they need some development. This is why it's important to cooperate with the others and to learn from the others, and to learn from their successes and from their failures, because maybe you have failed in some topic or in some project, and you have reorganize your plans or your projects, and it had a success. Then you will be able to say that I failed here or I had a success here, and you would know what are the reasons. So if you are working as an individual or as a group, then each of you has its own role, and there is no country that is able to address these challenges alone. And another country may have a positive experience, you may have learned from own failures. So you can have the opportunity that someone comes to you and say to you, I had a problem here, and you can solve a problem in a month, and not stay 5 years dealing with this problem. Also, support the practitioners from the public employment agencies. Important in order to peer review the practices and the policies through training, through traineeship, through self-employment programs, in order to reach the best services you can give to disadvantaged clients. So I have finished here, but I would like to hear also for contributions from the participants about their experiences or about the policies in their countries. The policies, the public employment policies are very important, are related to the regulations in each country, and it's very important to have an information system. It may be a national system, unified system, it may be sectorial, and maybe you have a country where you have millions of inhabitants and they have several information systems for each sector. So the availability of information, of data, is very important in order to have public employment services and public employment policies which are good, through also the contribution and the collaboration with expertise and the experts with countries which have more experience than us as a country. And it's very important also to have this exchange of knowledge. No country has no knowledge at all. Each country has an experience in some field. You may have more or less experience, but the exchange of experience is very important. Many developed countries get fired or benefit from ideas and policies that have been put or planned in countries which have less experience. They get surprised that there is brilliant ideas in these countries, and they benefit from that and implement that, but sometimes the problem in these countries is just to find funding. I have finished my presentation, and if you do have any ideas, you need any clarification, if you have any expertise, any experience that you have worked maybe with a private or a public employment service, or you know something that can activate labor policies, we would like to hear from you and have an exchange with you. So please, I would like to hear from you if you do have or you would like to add anything to what has been said till now. Thank you. Thank you, George, for all this precious information and this important presentation. And I don't know if Ms. Ibtissam or Mr. Abdul or Mr. Azzouz would like to share with us their experience. Mr. George has a lot of expertise in this field, so we can benefit from this opportunity in order also to exchange about your experience. Don't be ashamed if you have something to say or to exchange. Thank you, Mr. George. Thank you. I have benefited a lot on a personal level from your presentation, and next times we will have the opportunity to have more exchange. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your intervention. We will speak about career guidance in depth next time.
دور ومستقبل عمل وكالات خدمات التوظيف العامة. الأفكار الحديثة في خدمات التوظيف العامة، شو المطلوب، كيف لازم نطور خدمات التوظيف العامة مستقبلا. إن شاء الله هذا الأسبوع القادم نعلن عن الموعد، وإذا حدا ما بقى بده يزيد شيء
how we can improve
شكرا على هاي المداخلة المهمة والشيقة، بس يعني نتمنى انه نكون المشاركات اكثر في السيشن الجاي يوم 28، وهذا هو. يعني نشوفكم ان شاء الله في الويبينار الجاي.
طيب، فاذا انا بتشكركم كلكم، واللي كل ما قدروا يكونوا معنا اليوم قدرانين يفوتوا هيدي الجلسه مسجله بيقدروا يفوتوا يشوفوها. وشكرا
Thank you everyone. The session has been recorded, and thank you for the translators that they have made a great effort today. So thank you, Asma, and I would love to see you tomorrow. Thank you everyone for being present today. Have a great day.